but I can't say I'm necessarily surprised. It seems like the writing is on the wall and Charles wants Harry back, despite what his other son, Prince William, might want. Charles somehow seems to believe that the future resides with the Sussexes and not his heir, and this could not be a more catastrophically bad decision. So guys, we are going to get into this latest report, but if you have...
King Charles is facing one of the most delicate decisions of his reign, and it is not only about one senior aide leaving Buckingham Palace. Sir Clive Alderton, the King's principal private secretary and one of the most powerful non-royal figures in the royal household, is due to step down in 2027 after roughly 2 decades of service. On paper, that is a personnel story. A senior courtier nearing his 60th birthday, a formal transition, a recruitment process, and a new advisor eventually taking over one of the most sensitive jobs in the monarchy. But in royal life, personnel is never just personnel. The person who controls access to the king, shapes the diary, filters advice, sits near security discussions, and understands the emotional pressure inside the family can change the direction of a reign. That is why Alderton's departure has immediately been read through the lens of Prince Harry. Harry famously nicknamed Alderton the Wasp in Spare, painting him as one of the men in grey suits he believed stood between him and the family.
Because this story, it's a doozy. And this is an example of how Charles is leading again, not with his head, not with his kingly brain, but with his fatherly heart brain. And that's not a good thing. Because true leadership sometimes means that not everybody gets what they want.
So the moment Alderton's exit became public, commentators began asking the obvious question: does this make it easier for Charles to draw Harry back into the royal orbit? That question is not the same as saying Harry is about to return as a working royal. There is no official announcement that Harry and Meghan are coming back into the working monarchy. There is no confirmed plan that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex will resume royal duties, represent the crown, or be placed back into the institution they left in 2020. But royal politics often begins with signals, not statements. A room at Buckingham Palace offered for a future visit, a private family meeting at Highgrove, a new deputy private secretary seen as more pragmatic, briefings about reconciliation, and now the retirement of a senior aide known to have been disliked by Harry. Each individual detail can be explained innocently. Together they create a pattern that royal watchers are not wrong to examine. The fear is not that Harry walks through the front door tomorrow and receives a full royal programme. The fear is that the boundaries are being softened one gesture at a time, while the public is told not to notice the direction of travel. Tom Sykes, writing in The Royalist, framed Alderton's departure as a major advantage for the bring back Harry side of the palace argument. His interpretation is that Charles's court has been divided between hawks and doves. The hawks, with Alderton as a leading figure and Prince William broadly aligned with that caution, believe that re-platforming Harry and Meghan would damage the monarchy. The doves, associated with Deputy Private Secretary Theo Rycroft, are said to be more open to reconciliation and to the idea that the family rift should be healed for the king's sake. That is a commentary framework, not an official palace organogram, but it is useful because it captures the obvious tension. Charles is both a father and a king. As a father, he may want his younger son back in his life. As king, he has to protect the crown, the heir, the institution, and the public's trust. Those two roles are not always aligned. In Harry's case, they may be directly in conflict.
It's not good because you know what, Charles, sometimes you need somebody who kind of slaps you upside the head and goes, this is a stupid idea. And Clive is telling him, this is a stupid idea. Harry coming back is not helpful at all. Harry left and he deserves to stay gone. And Charles is just like, there was a little hope there that maybe Charles would press a nuclear option with Harry and Meghan. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Charles...
The personal argument for reconciliation is easy to understand. Charles is 77, has faced serious health concerns during his reign, and is a father who has spent years estranged from his younger son and largely separated from two of his grandchildren. No decent person should mock a parent for wanting peace with a child. If Charles wants to see Harry privately, speak to him, repair some family connection, and have a relationship with Archie and Lilibet, that is human. Many people would support that. The problem begins when private forgiveness starts to look like institutional restoration. A father can say, "You are my son, and I love you." A king cannot simply say, "You are my son, therefore the institution must absorb the consequences of your choices." Family and crown overlap, but they are not identical. The monarchy survives because people understand that royal status comes with duty, restraint, sacrifice, and consequence. If those consequences disappear when a commercial royal experiment becomes inconvenient,
is fully going to embrace his son and his daughter-in-law, despite everything they've done, and welcome them back in as if nothing has happened. And in that process, if Harry comes back basically as a working royal, what Charles has done basically is said that being a royal is a fallback plan. Being royal, it's sort of something that you do when you fail other places, that you can come back and be a royal. It actually degrades the status of the monarchy by demonstrating.
The monarchy begins to look less like service and more like a fallback plan. That is the danger at the center of this story. Harry and Meghan left the working royal family in 2020. They did not simply move quietly into private life. They gave interviews, made a Netflix series, signed commercial deals, released a memoir, criticized family members, fought media battles, and built a public identity partly around their grievances with the institution. Whether people sympathize with them or not, that happened. The monarchy, meanwhile, carried on through Queen Elizabeth II's final years. Her death, the accession of King Charles, the coronation, the illness of the king, the Princess of Wales's health struggles, and continuing public pressure. If Harry and Meghan are now gradually brought close to royal legitimacy again without any clear apology, accountability, or public boundary, the message is disastrous. It tells the public that a royal can leave, attack the institution, monetize the story, struggle to build a replacement brand, and then be welcomed back into royal adjacent status because blood is blood. That would weaken the meaning of royal duty. This is why Alderton's role matters symbolically. A principal private secretary is supposed to help a sovereign govern the household wisely, not simply flatter the sovereign's feelings. Good advisors are not always comfortable. Sometimes their job is to say no, or at least to ask what a decision will cost 5 years from now. The best leaders understand the value of advisors who disagree with them. Abraham Lincoln's famous team of rivals idea is often invoked because it captures a basic truth about leadership. If everyone around the leader wants to please him, bad instincts become policy. If Alderton was, as some reports suggest, more cautious about Harry, that caution may have been useful. It may have been exactly the kind of resistance a father king needs when his personal emotions pull him toward a risky public decision. Removing or replacing that caution does not automatically mean disaster, but it does raise a question. Is Charles seeking advice, or is he seeking permission? Theo Rycroft's possible rise is therefore being watched closely. Rycroft is a former diplomat and deputy private secretary who has reportedly worked with both Charles and William. Some reports have suggested he is seen as affable, pragmatic, and interested in repairing the William-Harry rift. None of that is automatically bad. A royal household needs people who can reduce tension, manage difficult relationships, and keep lines of communication open. But there is a huge difference between facilitating private communication and engineering public pressure. If Rycroft or any successor believes the brothers simply need to be pushed into a handshake and told to move on, that misunderstands the nature of the problem. William is not a child in a family argument who can be ordered to forgive for the sake of dinner. He is the heir to the throne, a husband, a father, and a future king, whose wife and children were indirectly pulled into Harry and Meghan's public war with the institution. Prince William's position cannot be brushed aside as stubbornness. He has watched his brother accuse, expose, and monetize private royal conflict. He has watched Catherine become part of the Sussex narrative. He has seen family pain turned into publishing, streaming, interviews, and global commentary. He also has to think about Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. The next reign is not Charles's to gamble with emotionally. William will inherit the consequences of today's decisions. If Harry is brought close enough to royal life to create ambiguity, William may later be forced either to tolerate a problem he did not create or to impose harsher boundaries as king, making him look colder than his father. That is unfair. Charles may want unity now, but unity without trust can become a trap for the person who has to govern after him. The security question makes all of this even more complicated. Harry lost automatic taxpayer-funded police protection after stepping back as a working royal, and his legal challenge over UK security arrangements failed in the Court of Appeal in May 2025. The court did not say Harry's fears were trivial. It said his grievance did not translate into a successful legal challenge to Ravek's decision-making. Ravek, the Royal and VIP Executive Committee, remains central to these security decisions, and Alderton has been reported as sitting on that body. His successor is expected to inherit influence in that sphere. That does not mean a new private secretary can simply hand Harry full police protection. Security decisions involve government, police, risk assessments, policy, secrecy, and public resources. But the symbolism is clear. If a more Harry-friendly palace environment emerges, critics will ask whether pressure will grow to revisit his security, his accommodation, and his status during UK visits. The Buckingham Palace accommodation story already showed how quickly private logistics become public drama. Reports suggested Harry may be offered a room at Buckingham Palace on a future UK visit after confusion and dispute around earlier accommodation arrangements. On one level, that sounds practical. He is the King's son. He visits Britain for charity commitments. A secure royal residence may be easier than a hotel. But in the current climate, nothing is merely practical. If Harry stays at Buckingham Palace, headlines will call it an olive branch. If he does not, headlines will call it a snub. If Meghan comes, the story becomes bigger. If the children come, it becomes a family thaw. If William avoids the moment, it becomes evidence of continuing hostility. The palace may think it can separate private hospitality from public meaning, but royal coverage does not work that way. Every room becomes a symbol. The Highgrove meeting in July 2026 added to that sense of thaw. Multiple outlets reported that King Charles met Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet privately at Highgrove, marking the first time he had seen his Sussex grandchildren in person in years. If kept truly private, that kind of meeting could be healthy. A grandfather seeing his grandchildren should not automatically be turned into a constitutional crisis. But the Sussex story is never insulated from publicity for long. The public now assumes that every private moment may eventually become part of a narrative, a photo, a briefing, a memoir, or a streaming project.
And that Charles seemingly is dedicated on having a dynastic one is hugely, hugely problematic, guys. It's massively, massively problematic for Charles to kind of walk in there, waltz in there and go, you know what, we're going to reconcile here and it's all going to be great. Not really, no. You can't really do that. You need to, I think, have a balance here and a recognition of the difference between family and throne, family and crown. Those are two different things.
That is the trust deficit Harry and Meghan have created for themselves. They may complain about leaks, but they have also built a public brand on selective disclosure. So when Charles opens a private door, critics worry about what may later walk through it. This is why the phrase personal reconciliation, not dynastic reconciliation, matters. Charles can reconcile with Harry as a father. He can invite him for tea, speak to him privately, see his grandchildren, and try to mend the human wound. But the monarchy does not owe Harry institutional restoration. The public does not owe him automatic acceptance as a royal representative. William does not owe him a public handshake. Catherine does not owe him proximity. The distinction between family and firm is not cruelty. It is the only way this can be handled responsibly. If Harry wants a private relationship with his father, that is one question. If he wants status, security, platform invitations, and public royal legitimacy, that is another. The argument that Charles is leading with his heart rather than his head may sound harsh, but it captures a real fear. Queen Elizabeth II understood the burden of putting duty before personal emotion. That did not make her perfect, and it did not mean every family decision during her reign was wise. But the public trusted that she understood the monarchy as something larger than her own feelings. Charles has always been more expressive, more personal, and more inclined to pursue causes and relationships through his own emotional convictions. That can make him warmer in some settings, but it can also make him vulnerable to decisions that feel humane in the moment and institutionally reckless later. A king cannot govern only as a wounded father. He has to ask what a decision teaches the country about service, consequence, and trust. Forgiveness also has a structure. In ordinary family life, reconciliation often requires acknowledgement, changed behavior, and time. It is not enough for the person who caused harm to appear and expect everyone else to erase the past. In public life, the standard should be even clearer. Has Harry acknowledged the damage caused by Spare, the Netflix series, and the interviews? Has he accepted that private family conversations cannot become content? Has he shown that he can be discreet? Has Meghan shown that she will not turn royal proximity into brand value? Has either of them accepted that royal service is not a commercial platform? Without answers to those questions, a broad re-entry into royal adjacent life would look less like forgiveness and more like avoidance. The public would notice support for the monarchy is not what it was during Queen Elizabeth's strongest years. Younger audiences are less deferential. Republican arguments are louder. The idea of inherited status is already difficult to defend in a modern democracy, and it becomes even harder if royal duty looks optional. The strongest defense of monarchy is service. That those born into the role accept restriction, scrutiny, and obligation in return for position. If Harry and Meghan can reject the restriction, criticize the institution, monetize the connection, and still drift back toward royal legitimacy, the moral logic weakens. People will ask why taxpayers should support a system that appears to protect its own no matter what. They will ask what sacrifice means if the door always reopens. There is also a risk to Harry himself. A poorly managed return would not necessarily help him. If he is brought back without clear boundaries, every appearance becomes a referendum on his past behavior. Every charity visit becomes a debate about whether he deserves the platform. Every security arrangement becomes a taxpayer argument. Every interaction with William becomes body language analysis. Every event involving Meghan becomes a brand speculation story. That is not peace. That is permanent scrutiny under royal lighting. If Harry genuinely wants a calmer life and a relationship with his father, the smarter path would be modest, private, and clearly separate from the working monarchy. The closer he moves to the institution, the more the old conflicts revive. Meghan is central to the public risk because her relationship with royal status has always been ambiguous. She and Harry step back from the constraints of royal duty, yet their titles remain commercially and socially powerful. Meghan's projects, from media work to lifestyle branding, benefit from her identity as the Duchess of Sussex. That does not mean everything she does is wrong, but it does mean that any renewed palace proximity becomes valuable. If she is seen near royal events, royal homes, royal commemorations, or royal family moments, that proximity can support her brand. Whether or not that is the stated intention, the palace should understand that, so should Charles. If he opens institutional doors to Harry, he may also be opening reputational doors to Meghan's commercial world. The palace communications problem is already severe. Royal reporters depend on access, palace officials depend on friendly handling, Sussex sources brief their own side, commentators interpret leaks. The result is a fog in which nobody quite knows what is policy what is hope, what is spin, and what is emotional pressure. This is why stories about Alderton, Rycroft, and Harry matter. They are not just gossip about courtiers. They reveal a household struggling to decide how much of Harry's exile is permanent, how much of it can be softened, and who gets to make that call. If the palace wants public trust, it needs clarity. Are Harry and Meghan private relatives, or are they being slowly reintroduced as royal adjacent figures? A monarchy cannot ask the public to ignore ambiguity when ambiguity is the tool being used. The role of principal private secretary is crucial because it sits at the point where emotion meets machinery. The king may want something, but someone has to turn that wish into a diary, a briefing, a phone call, a security request, a diplomatic signal, or a quiet refusal. That person has to understand not only what the sovereign feels today, but what the decision will look like when it appears in tomorrow's newspapers and next year's history books. Alderton's record is not small. He helped manage the transition from Prince of Wales to King, the accession after Queen Elizabeth II's death, the coronation, and the merging of households around Charles and Camilla. People in that role see the institution from the inside. They know which decisions are symbolic even when they look administrative. They know that a hotel room, a palace room, a car, a place in a procession, or a private entrance can create a public meaning larger than the act itself. That is why the next appointment matters so much. The successor will not simply organize the King's Day, he or she will help decide how much oxygen Harry receives. The new private secretary will also inherit the problem of competing royal futures. Charles is the present sovereign, but William is the future of the monarchy. A wise courtier has to serve the king without poisoning the inheritance. That is not always easy. If Charles wants a warmer path toward Harry, the aide must ask how that affects William's ability to command respect when his time comes. If William believes the Sussexes should remain firmly outside, the aide must decide how to communicate that without appearing to defy the king. If Harry's team seeks access, the aide must decide whether it is family contact, charitable coordination, or reputation management. This is not a job for someone whose instinct is simply to make everyone feel better. It requires discipline. Sometimes the kindest answer to the institution is no. Ravek is another reason the appointment carries weight. The committee's work is deliberately opaque because security cannot be managed in public. That secrecy is necessary, but it also makes the issue politically combustible. Harry argues that his position, profile, military service, and family make his security needs serious. Many people accept that he faces risks, but the public also knows that he chose to leave the working royal role and live abroad. Once taxpayer-funded protection enters the discussion, sympathy quickly becomes a question of fairness. If Harry receives more state-backed security after stepping away from duty, other public figures will ask why. If he does not, his supporters will argue that the system is exposing him to danger because of family politics. The palace cannot directly control Ravek, but its internal posture matters. If Buckingham Palace is perceived to be quietly pushing for Harry's security to be restored, the backlash could be enormous. It would look like the king using institutional gravity to solve a personal family problem with public resources. This is why a private relationship is the only clean path. Charles can speak to Harry by phone, he can meet him quietly, he can invite grandchildren for a private visit under clear conditions. He can show paternal care without asking the public to subsidize a full restoration of royal status. But the moment security, accommodation, palace briefings, joint appearances, or public charitable events are added, the matter stops being private. It becomes constitutional theatre. And constitutional theatre is exactly what the monarchy should avoid with Harry and Meghan, because they are already among the most polarizing figures connected to the crown. A private father-son thaw might calm the story. A half-public, half-private thaw will inflame it. The Sussexes' supporters often argue that the institution owes Harry compassion because he suffered trauma and because the press treated him and his mother brutally. There is truth in the trauma part, and there is truth in the press part. But compassion cannot mean institutional amnesia. Diana's death explains why Harry is sensitive to press intrusion. It does not explain away every choice made decades later. It does not erase the fact that Spare included intimate claims about family members. It does not erase the Netflix series. It does not erase the interviews. It does not erase the fact that the Sussexes built a post-royal identity around revealing what the royal family normally keeps private. If Charles wants to forgive that as a father, he may, but the institution has to remember it, because institutions survive by remembering risk. There is a practical problem too. What would a soft return even look like? Harry cannot easily become a standard working royal again. He lives in California. Meghan has her own commercial projects. The children are being raised outside the royal system. The couple's brand depends on independence from the institution as much as connection to it. If Harry attends a few charity events in Britain, is that service or publicity? If he appears at Invictus with royal family support, is that family healing or image repair? If Meghan attends a palace-adjacent event, is she there privately or as the Duchess of Sussex in a public role? If the public cannot tell, then the arrangement is already unstable. The old half-in, half-out problem returns through the side door. Queen Elizabeth II understood that problem at the beginning. The Sandringham settlement after Harry and Meghan stepped back was imperfect, but the principle was clear. They could not represent the Queen while pursuing independent commercial lives. That principle remains sound. The monarchy cannot be sliced into whichever pieces are convenient. You cannot keep the status, drop the restriction, monetize the story, and then reclaim the platform when needed. If Charles weakens that principle, he does not only reopen the Harry question, he reopens the entire settlement that preserved the monarchy's credibility after Megxit. William's silence is often interpreted as coldness, but it may actually be strategic restraint. He cannot spend his life responding to every Sussex briefing. He cannot litigate every claim in public. He cannot make the monarchy into a family argument. So he does what future kings often have to do. He waits, works, and lets time reveal character. That restraint can be misread as passivity, but it may be the strongest possible boundary. The danger is that Charles's court, impatient with the emotional discomfort of the rift, tries to solve it with choreography. A handshake, a shared service, a palace stay, a photograph, a Diana event. Those things may soothe headlines for a week, but they cannot manufacture trust. William knows that because he will have to live with the consequences after the cameras leave. Catherine's position reinforces the need for caution. She has become one of the monarchy's most trusted figures, precisely because she represents steadiness. Her public role is not built on confession. It is built on presence, continuity, and a careful focus on family, early childhood, and national moments. Dragging her back into proximity with Harry and Meghan before trust exists would be reckless. The public has not forgotten the tensions around bridesmaids, Oprah, race allegations, family briefings, and the way Catherine has been used in narratives beyond her control. If Charles wants to heal one relationship by risking the peace of another household, he would be making a grave mistake. There is also the question of Prince George. Every decision now teaches him what monarchy means. If he watches the institution bend around the most disruptive family member, what lesson does that send? If he sees his father's boundaries treated as obstacles, what does that teach him about future kingship? The monarchy's future is not abstract. It is being formed in the lives of William's children. They will inherit the public mood shaped by Charles's decisions. A grandfather's desire for family repair must not make the crown weaker for the grandchildren who may one day carry it. Supporters of a softer approach may say that the monarchy has always survived family scandals, and that bringing Harry closer could neutralize him. Maybe that is Charles's calculation. Keep Harry inside the tent, reduce the attacks, give him dignity, and the noise will fade. But that assumes Harry and Meghan's public behavior is driven mainly by exclusion. What if it is driven by attention, grievance, and brand economics? If that is the case, greater proximity may not reduce the problem. It may give the problem more value. The closer they are to the crime, the more every gesture can be interpreted, sold, defended, or weaponized. Distance may be painful, but distance also limits the blast radius. The public mood is less forgiving than palace insiders may think. Many people are tired of royal drama. They do not follow every courtier's name, but they understand the basic picture. Harry and Meghan left, criticized, commercialized, and now may be inching closer again. For supporters, that may look like long-awaited healing. For critics, it looks like consequences being quietly erased. The monarchy depends on a broad middle of people who are not obsessed with the royals, but generally accept the institution because it feels stable. That middle can be alienated if the crown starts to look like a family therapy project being conducted through public symbols. Some will argue that reconciliation is always good and that critics are being vindictive, but that misses the point.
The Harry question was different. Difficult, painful for the king. Again, not the king's fault. It's Harry's fault. Why is the king the one who's making all the amends? It's because his mother died? That is tragic, but that is not an excuse for stupid decisions. And Alderton was on the wrong side of it. He sits on the Ravic board, the committee that decides on the protection for royals and VIPs, which has consistently declined to restore Harry's security. So if Alderton is off, then Charles can maybe help, through Rycroft, push for Harry to get his government funded.
Reconciliation can be good when it is honest. It can be destructive when it is staged. A family reunion can heal if it happens privately and after real work. A public thaw can manipulate if it is used to launder reputations without addressing what caused the rupture. William does not have to remain angry forever, but he also does not have to perform forgiveness on a timetable set by his father, an aide, or the press. Charles may feel time is short. William has to think in reigns, not weeks. That difference matters. The comparison with Hollywood failure is blunt but politically relevant. Harry and Meghan left with enormous global attention and commercial opportunity. They had Netflix, Spotify, books, interviews, awards, and a sympathetic American media environment at various points. Some projects landed, others faltered. Their public image remains divisive. If, after that, the monarchy appears to offer them renewed status because outside ventures did not produce stable authority, it devalues the work of royals who stayed. Princess Anne, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, William and Catherine, and other working royals continued the daily grind of engagements without turning family grievance into a global product. They may not always create dramatic headlines, but that is partly the point. The monarchy depends on boring reliability more than emotional spectacle. Charles must also consider Queen Camilla's position and his own legacy. His reign was always going to be judged in the shadow of Queen Elizabeth II, the memory of Diana, and the public's long journey toward accepting Camilla. He has worked for decades to be taken seriously as a sovereign. If the defining story of his later reign becomes an emotionally driven attempt to bring Harry back over William's objections, it will overshadow much else. It will make him look less like a transitional monarch securing the future, and more like a father trying to rewrite family pain through institutional power. That would be a tragic ending to a reign that already has enough challenges. The wisest course is not cruelty, it is boundary. Charles should see Harry privately if he wishes. He should know his grandchildren. He should allow family warmth where trust permits it. But he should not blur Harry's private sonship with public royal function. He should not allow aides to treat William as an obstacle to be managed. He should not create situations where Catherine is dragged back into Sussex drama. He should not let accommodation, security, charity appearances, or palace invitations become a slow-motion route back to quasi-royal status. And he should not remove or ignore advisors simply because they're telling him the truth he least wants to hear. Harry has responsibilities too. If he wants a better relationship with his father, he can begin by proving discretion. He can stop allowing every royal contact to become a public signal. He can make clear that he is not seeking royal duties, royal platform, or royal status by the back door. He can respect William's boundaries. He can keep Meghan's commercial life separate from any family repair. He can show through time rather than words that private conversations will remain private. Until he does that, suspicion will follow every palace gesture, no matter how harmless it may seem. William's responsibility is different. He must protect the future. That may mean appearing hard now in order to preserve clarity later. Future kings cannot allow emotional blackmail to shape the institution. If William believes Harry cannot be trusted with royal proximity, he has every right to maintain distance. If he one day chooses reconciliation, it should be because trust has been rebuilt, not because Charles wants a family photograph or because a courtier thinks the brothers should shake hands. William's restraint may frustrate people who want a neat ending, but monarchy is not a television drama. Some wounds do not resolve on camera. The departure of Sir Clive Alderton may turn out to be nothing more than a well-timed retirement after distinguished service. The palace may appoint a professional successor who keeps clear boundaries. Charles may pursue only a private family thaw. Harry may remain outside the working monarchy. All of that is possible. But the concern is rational because the signals are real. A senior skeptic is leaving.
And move on. If that is not their choice, you can't force it. To say that it is his convictions that his sons need to shake hands and move on, well, he can say that, but he cannot force a grown freaky man to do that on his wishes. That's insane. That is absolute insanity. William is his own man, and if he doesn't want to reconcile with Harry, he doesn't have to. Why does he need his sons?
A more conciliatory figure may rise. Harry is expected back in Britain again. Buckingham Palace accommodation is being discussed. Highgrove has already happened. Security remains a live issue. The Diana anniversary and Invictus 2027 are approaching. In royal life, these pieces do not exist in isolation. So the warning is simple. A father may forgive, but a king must govern. If Charles confuses the two, he could damage not only his own reign, but William's inheritance and George's future. Harry left the working monarchy and built a life outside it. That choice has consequences. Those consequences do not need to be vindictive, but they do need to be real. The monarchy cannot be a backup plan, a brand asset, or an emotional repair shop for decisions made in California. It has to be an institution with boundaries, or it will become exactly what its critics say it is, a family drama funded by public patience. If Charles wants to protect his legacy, he should keep the door open to his son as a father, but keep the crown's door firmly guarded as king.